Watch World War II in 24 minutes. World War II. In human history, global war on an unprecedented scale. The scale of this war has never been greater. 6 years from 1939 to 1945. 61 countries participated in the exhibition. More than 100 million exhibitors. 2 billion were involved in the war, directly or indirectly due to war. The death toll is approximately 70 million. The number of injured reached 130 million, causing economic losses of up to $40,000 billion. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in chronological order, understand the detailed process of World War II in one go. January 18, 1919. In the United States and the United Kingdom, the victorious powers of the First World War led by France begin a meeting at the Palace of Versailles in Paris, negotiate a plan for the defeat of Germany. This is the famous Paris Peace Conference in world history. After several discussions, finally, on June 28, 1919, the victorious nations signed a treaty with Germany, the famous Contract of Versailles. In the Contract of Versailles, victory versus Germany, a variety of restrictive measures have been taken. Germany was redrawn, divide up all of Germany's overseas colonies, make Germany pay huge reparations, limiting Germany's armament party, Germany under the weight of war wounds and contracts, domestic economic collapse, inflation is rampant, people's living standards plummeted, the necessities of egg, milk and bread were once luxury goods. Therefore, this contract is in the hearts of the Germans, planted the seeds of revenge. In 1919 Drexler, the establishment of the German Workers' Party in Munich. In the same year Hitler joined and took control of the party. April 1920, German Workers' Party, renamed the National Socialist German Workers' Party, and the German Nazi Party. At a conference held in Washington in 1921, Japan's naval power, due to the severe restrictions of Western imperialism. This makes Japan's domestic. I really hated Versailles after World War I. Washington system. Subsequently, fascist groups began to spread across the Japanese galaxy. By the 1930s, in Japan, fascist forces have become very powerful. In 192, the Italian state fascist party founder Mussolini organized the Black Mountain Army to launch a riot, march on Rome, the capital of Italy, and coerce the King of Italy to appoint him as prime minister. The Italian government finally compromised. Mussolini formed a cabinet in October of the same year. The establishment of the world's first fascist dictatorship. Mussolini's power grab. He provided inspiration for his friend Hitler. November 8, 1923. Hitler thought the timing was right. He was determined to follow the example of Mussolini and march on Rome. Seize the right example. Start planning a march on Berlin. Launched a beer hall riot, but it ended in failure. Hitler was arrested and imprisoned. The government ordered, ban the Nazi Party, close Nazi newspaper. In 1925, after being released from prison, Hitler rebuilt the Nazi Party and established the SS. 1929, the world economic crisis broke out first in the United States, and it quickly spread to the entire capitalist world. In this economic crisis, United States and other countries, the New Deal was adopted to restore economic development, but Germany, Japan and other countries adopt a fascist dictatorship to get out of the economic crisis. In 1931, the Nazi Party under Hitler has grown to 3 million, becoming a mainstream political party in Germany. In the same year, in order to deflect domestic economic threats, they started waging aggressive wars. On September 18, Japan launched the September 18 incident. Occupy Northeast China. China's 14-year anti-Japanese war began. It also kicked off the World Anti-Fascist War. 1932. The Nazi Party, representing the forces of German fascism, became the largest party in Germany. In 1933, Hitler was in the German military, with the support of the monopoly bourgeoisie, come to power as the head of Germany. After Hitler gained power, immediate national integration, all non-Nazi political parties in Germany were banned, and wealthy artists, writers and Jewish Germans were targeted. They were forbidden to publish books, to publish works that promoted ideas. In 1935, under the impact of the global economic crisis, Italy also pursued a policy of expansion. The Mussolini government has identified territorial expansion. It is a necessary means to relieve domestic economic pressure, and they invaded Ethiopia, facing the rise and expansion of German, Italian and Japanese fascists, due to the French media and other major Western powers. Instead of stepping forward, accelerated the pace of external expansion. Instead, they took measures to protect themselves. Accompanying policy of concession everywhere, this greatly contributed to the arrogance of the fascist state. The same year, Hitler tore up the Versailles Contract, overt military expansion 550,000, and built an air force. In 1936, the Spanish Civil War broke out, the government of the Republic and the National Army, etc. Another power confrontation. The Soviet Union and Mexico supported, while Nazi Germany and Italy supported the National Army. Spanish Civil War. It has been identified as a prelude to World War II. It is the meeting of the Axis powers and the anti-fascist allies. Proxy war in Qingtai. July 7, 1937. Japan provoked the Lugu Bridge incident. Launch a full-scale war of aggression against China. Chinese soldiers and civilians rise up in resistance. Government of the Republic. The Anti-Japanese National United Front is formally formed. China launched the upsurge of the whole nation's anti-Japanese war. This is also considered World War II. Signs of an outbreak in Asia. On August 13th, the Battle of Songhu broke out. Battle of Songhu. China and Japan. The first major battle in the anti-Japanese war. It is also the scale of the entire Sino-Japanese war. The greatest battle of all. Under the brave resistance of the vast number of patriotic soldiers, shattered Japan's plan to destroy China in 3 months. December 13, 1937. The Japanese invaders occupied Nanjing, carried out the horrific Nanjing massacre. March 1938. Hitler sent troops to invade Austria and it quickly annexed Austria, and Britain and France not only did not stop, in order to achieve universal access in Europe, achieving peace for a generation, at the expense of Czechoslovakia, signing the Munich Agreement with Germany and Italy, will jack the Sudetenland region of Slovakia, ceded to Germany, encourage German aggression and expansion. March 1939. Germany reneges on the Munich Agreement, send troops to occupy all the territory of Czechoslovakia. It greatly increased Germany's military and economic power. Then Hitler tried to connect the East and West regions, demand that Poland give up the Nazi region. Britain and France made it clear that, if Hitler attacked Poland, would declare war on Germany. But Hitler at this time, I don't care if Britain and France go to war. May to August 1939, Hitler passed through Foreign Minister Liebentrop several times, expressed to the Soviet Union, Nazi Germany had no intention of invading the Soviet Union, and hoped to improve their relationship with each other. Soviet side, dissatisfied with the British and French border policy. At the same time, for the security of their own country, it was convenient for Germany to sign the Soviet-German Complementary Aggression Treaty, and discuss the partition of Poland and the Eastern European sphere of influence. September 1, 1939, Hitler dispatched 58 divisions, 2,800 tanks, 2,000 aircraft and 6,000 artillery pieces, launched a lightning attack on Poland. On September 3, Britain and France declared war on Germany. World War II officially broke out, but Britain and France actually just declared not to fight. The competition begins. 1 month later, the fall of Poland. According to the Soviet-German Non-Aggression Pact, the Soviet Union annexed territory in eastern Poland. Germany annexed territory in western Poland. At the same time, the Soviet Union and Germany began to capture and kill Poles. Hitler sent the SS to massacre Polish Jews. November 26, 1939, the Soviet Union staged the Manila shelling, and used that as an excuse, assembled over 1 million troops to invade Finland. In this war, the Soviet Union can be said to be as strict as it is. More than 1 million troops, due to unfamiliar terrain and poor command, once divided into blue 200,000 army guerrilla tactics. In the end, the Soviets paid for 100,000 casualties. They narrowly won the war. Historical Winter War. The Soviet Union's performance in this war, it also caused Hitler to launch an invasion. The Soviet Union's intentions are more confident, and began to contact Finland to join its program. April 9, 1940, Hitler wanted to ensure the supply of iron ore. The Germans invaded Norway and Denmark, and quickly moved the beam. Occupation of the United States on May 10, 1940. Hitler followed the Manstein Plan, mobilized 3 million forces, 2,700 tanks, 5,100 aircraft, bypassed the heavily defended Mack-and-Rudder Line. Invasion of Western European countries. On May 13th, Churchill became Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and discussed changes to the previous border policy, persistent opposing Germany. During the period, Italy took advantage of the fire, sent troops to declare war on Britain and France. On May 26th, the Dunkirk evacuation took place. 340,000 the Allies successfully escaped the German encirclement. Retreat to the UK. This is the scale of World War II. The largest military withdrawal. On June 22, France surrendered to Germany. Less than 2 months, the German army completely occupied the Western European continent. After the fall of France, de Gaulle established a free French government in England, continued to resist German aggression. July 6, 1940, Hitler sets out, draw up a maritime plan for the invasion of England to ensure the smooth implementation of the Douai landing operation. The Germans planned to seize the air power first. On July 10, the Germans launched the Battle of Britain. It was the largest air battle of World War II. The two sides have dispatched more than 6,000 aircraft. In this air battle, the Royal Air Force was under the command of Churchill. Applied struggle with the Germans. In the end, the British lost, due to the cost of 740 for aircraft and 1,540 to pilots. Destroyed 1,977 German aircraft, and 2,585 pilots. After the war, due to the loss of a large number of fighter jets and pilots to Germany, and cannot gain air superiority over the English Channel, had to abandon the Sea Lion plan to invade Britain. They turned their strategic focus to the eastern battlefield. September 27, 1940, diplomatic representatives of Germany, Italy and Japan, signing of the Triple Alliance Treaty in Berlin. This marked the official establishment of the Axis powers. Then Hungary. Romania, Bulgaria and Finland joined the Axis camp one after another. December 18, 1940, Italy attacks Greece, but met with tenacious resistance. April 6, 1941, Germany invaded Greece and Yugoslavia, quickly conquer both countries. So far in the European battlefield, except for the UK, Germany cleared the main obstacle to the conquest of the Soviet Union. June 22, 1941, Germany breaks the Soviet-German non-aggression pact. Hurumbukunguo, Hungary, Romania, Finland and other countries, according to the pre-planned Barbarossa plan, assembled 190 divisions, 4,900 aircraft, 3,700 tanks, 47,000 cannons, and 190 warships, 5.50 million force, become 3 army groups. From the north central, 3 directions south, launch an attack on the Soviet Union in the form of Shaanxi Station. The Great Patriotic War broke out in full swing. Early war, due to the fascist surprise attack. The Soviet army was defeated again and again. Less than a month, the Germans captured a large part of the Soviet Union. July 3, 1941, Soviet leader Stalin gave a radio address. Call on the people of all ethnic groups in the Soviet Union to gather and protect. For the motherland under the leadership of Stalin, Soviet soldiers and civilians resisted bravely. Retreat to the mainland defensive zone one after another. July 7, 1941, the Germans launched a massive siege in the Kiev region. This battle almost destroyed the Soviet Red Army. The Southwest Force is completely surrounded. 660,000 Soviet captured, 160,000 casualties. Historically known as the Battle of Kiev. September 30, 1941. Hitler delusions before the terrible cold came. Take it in one fell swoop. In Moscow, he mobilized 1.80 million of the Easy Army, 14,000 cannons and platoon guns, 1,700 tanks, 950 aircraft, launched a massive offensive codenamed Typhoon. Phase 1 of the campaign. The Germans are in the Vyazma area, destroy more than 600,000 Soviet Red Army personnel. Showed the world its determination to fight to the end, then quickly occupied the outskirts of Moscow, destroyed the Soviet Union. Line of defense November 7, 1941. As the Germans advanced into Moscow, in order to improve the morale of the Soviet Union and its army, still organized the military parade on Red Square on time. Hundreds of thousands of Red Army troops marched through Red Square. Soviet Union. After the parade, the troops were reviewed. Go straight to the front line. Key leaders of the Soviet Union, including Stalin, located in Moscow, to demonstrate perseverance. Resolution dated December 6, 1941. The Soviet Red Army launched a counterattack. In the end, the Soviet Red Army cost 1 million casualties, destroyed the Germans 500,000. Victory in the Battle of Moscow, smashed Hitler in 3 or 5 months. Arrogant plan to conquer the Soviet Union, greatly inspired the anti-fascist people of the world. Determination to fight aggression, December 7, 1941. Japanese fascists were promoted by the Nanking policy. Hegemony in the Asia-Pacific region has been established. However, Japan's aggressive policy seriously damaged the interests of the United States and the United Kingdom. America had to respond. Restrictions or even bans on steel exports to Japan, petroleum and other strategic materials. Freeze Japanese assets in the United States. And increase aid to China, UK, Australia and other countries. Measures have also been taken. Japan, which relies on imports of strategic materials, is a serious blow. So Japan took advantage of the fact that the American war was not yet ready. Attacked the U.S. Pacific base Pearl Harbor, the devastated U.S. Navy Pacific Fleet. On December 8, the United States declared war on Japan. The Pacific War broke out. December 11, please. Germany and Italy have declared war on the United States. And the United States quickly responded with a declaration of war. On December 9, the Chinese national government, after 10 years of the Sino-Japanese War, also officially declared war on Germany, Italy and Japan. World War II reached its peak. January 1, 1942, Chinese-Soviet Union. 26 countries including the United States and the United Kingdom. A joint declaration of nations was issued in Washington. Publication of the declaration. Mark. The official establishment of the World Anti-Fascist League. From September 1939 to January 1942, Chinese Army and Tsinghua Japanese Army. In the 9th Theater, centered on Changsha, 3 large-scale and intense offensive and defensive battles were launched. And the Battle of Changsha. China has committed more than 1.20 million troops. The Japanese Army invested more than 400,000 troops. Finally, the Chinese Army 90,000 casualties, killed more than 110,000 Japanese, won the Battle of Changsha. To coordinate the anti-fascist campaign more effectively, smashed Japan's attempt to eliminate the main force of the Chinese Army, with guns, strategic goal, powerfully defended the vast area of Hunan, and the security of our country's southwest rear. At the same time, Japanese and Chinese 8th Route Army, the 100 Regiments War was launched behind enemy lines in North China. During the entire campaign, the 8th Route Army fought a total of 1,824 battles. More than 50,000 Japanese puppet army will be injured. Hit the reactionary eye of the Japanese guards. It greatly inspired the confidence of the whole country in the anti-Japanese war. March 1942, The Chinese Expeditionary Force enters Myanmar. Coordinate with the British Army to fight against Japan. June 1942. Japan has successfully partnered with the U.S. military and allied forces in the Pacific. Start two wars. The Battle of Midway and the Battle of Guadalcanal. Both campaigns ended in Japanese defeat. Allied forces in the Pacific. From then on, it will be transferred to the stage of strategic counteroffensive. July 1942. After Hitler lost the Battle of Moscow, abandoned the all-risk attack plan, decided to concentrate the offensive forces on the southern front. The goal is to seize the Caucasus oil fields, occupy the wheat-growing areas of the Volga Valley, take Stalingrad. Hitler believed that, once the above objectives are achieved, Russia will lose its oil and food. The connection between the shadow and the southern region will be severed. The country can easily win this war. So Germany launched its summer offensive in 1942, after nearly 2 months of bloodshed. The last stronghold of the Soviet defense, fall of Sevastopol. The Germans occupied the entire Crimean Peninsula. July 11th, the German 6th Army enters the border of Stalingrad. July 17th, the Germans are on the Zier and Zimmer in the Don region. Fire exchange between Lehi County and Soviet troops. The Battle of Stalingrad is officially underway. Hitler made plans for a large number of American troops to move to Europe, end the war against the Soviet Union as soon as possible. Put into million Bentley, 1,200 tanks and more than 600 aircraft. And the Soviets invested more than 3 million Bentley, and a lot of planes. Battle of Tanks Stalingrad. It's been called the Meat Grinder War. Soldiers on the battlefield survive on average less than 24 hours. No more than 3 days for officers. At the height of the battle, soldiers don't even survive for more than 9 minutes. It was as tragic as ever. In the end, the Soviets 2 million casualties. Wounded the German army 1.50 million. Use fresh blood piled up in victory at the Battle of Stalingrad. Stalin. The Battle of Grad was not only a turning point in the Soviet-German battlefield, it was also a turning point in the entire Second World War. The power balance between the Soviets began to take root. The Germans moved to defense. The Soviet army gained the strategic initiative. This transformation accelerated the overall course of the anti-fascist war, encouraged the entire anti-fascist movement. The war began to shift from defense to offense. October 23, 1942. Germany and Italy attempt to occupy Egypt. Control of the Suez Canal. Launched the Battle of El Alamein. The battle lasted 12 days. Ultimately, the British-led Allied forces ended in victory. April 1943. Anglo-American troops defeat German and Italian troops in the battlefield of North Africa. On July 10th, the British and American Allied forces victory in eastern Sicily in southern Italy. Destroy the German and Italian 160,000. Sicily landing station. Political shock to the Italian government. Led to a coup in Italy. Ultimately, the fascist government of Mussolini, replaced by a new government formed by Badoglio. September 3rd. Badoglio announces Italy's unconditional surrender and withdrew from the Axis alliance. Declare war on Germany. At the same time as the Sicilian landing station, Hitler launched the Battle of Kursk against the Soviet Union, intended to inflict massive damage on the Soviet army. Wang thus fully regained the strategic initiative. The Soviet High Command had insight into the German strategic intentions, prepared for a dominant army. Artillery, tanks and aircraft extend the area. This battle against the Germans. The Soviet army dispatched nearly 8,000 tanks to the battle. Both sides committed more than 2.80 million soldiers. Air Force combat aircraft exceed 5,000 pieces, the largest tank battle in history, and the largest single-day air battle on record. The Battle of Kursk was finally won by the Soviets. The German army was defeated and ended, but the Soviets paid a heavy price. Loss of troops 800,000. More than 3,000 tanks were lost. 1,700 aircraft lost. The Germans lost 500,000. Loss of 1,500 tanks. Loss of 1,000 aircraft. The Battle of Kursk was also the last time for the Germans' strategic large-scale attack on the Soviet Union. After that, the Germans lost the war completely. The initiative, while the Soviets began to expand, the scale of successive strategic offensives successfully drove the Germans out of the Soviet Union. The 22nd to the 26th of November 1943, Jiang Mei, the leaders of the three countries met in Cairo, Egypt, signed the Cairo Declaration, Statement of the World Anti-Fascist Allies. Will continue to fight against Japan until the Japanese fascists surrendered unconditionally. At the same time, it is clearly stipulated, the Japanese occupation included the 3 northeastern provinces, Chinese territory including Taiwan's Penghu Islands. It must be returned to China. November 28 to December 1, 1943. Heads of the Soviet Union, America and Britain. A meeting was held in Tehran, the capital of Iran. The conference decided to open a second front in Europe, to defeat Nazi Germany as soon as possible. June 6, 1944. Anglo-French and American forces, under the command of Commander-in-Chief Eisenhower, concentrated forces to 0.88 million and 6,000 warships of various types. Aircraft 13,700 across the English Channel. The Normandy landings in northern France. In the end, the Allies suffered 20 casualties. The cost of 20,000 men wiped out nearly 300,000 Germans. successfully opened up the second battlefield on the European continent. In August, the Blind Army entered Paris to retake France. At the same time, the Soviets were there. The Eastern Front launched a more intense attack on the Germans. On June 22, the Soviets launched Operation Bagration, launched a strong offensive in 4 directions. Defeated German army groups enter in one fell swoop. A total of more than 1 million German troops were wiped out. And liberated Romania one after another, Bulgaria, Hungary, Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, Poland and other countries. By this point, the Germans had retreated to the mainland in the east. Part of the Soviet army entered Germany. Further, accelerated the demise of German fascism. October 20, 1944, an American amphibious force attacked Light Island in the middle of the Philippine Islands. The Battle of Light Bay broke out. The Allies committed 17 aircraft carriers to this battle, 12 battleships, 24 cruisers, 141 destroyers, 1,005, hundreds of planes. Japan invests for aircraft carriers, 9 battleships, 19 cruisers, 314 destroyers, about 200 aircraft. An army sent into battle with 2 armies. In terms of gross tonnage, Battle of Light Bay, it was the largest naval battle in history. It was also the last aircraft carrier battle to date. Ultimately, the Allies relied on their overwhelming numerical superiority, completely destroyed Japan's aircraft carrier force. It dealt a serious blow to Japan's overall strength. From then on, Japan, the United Fleet in the Pacific War, it is no longer a strategic force. This battle, it was also for the later successful capture of the Philippine Islands by the U.S. military, lay the foundation in places like Okinawa, March 1945, Mifa, the strength of the British and other Allied forces on the Rhine, heading into the German hinterland. At the same time, Dongxi's Soviet army, on April 16, launched a strong offensive against Sinian from the banks of the Oder River, begin the Battle of Berlin. April 25, the 2 armies of the United States and the Soviet Union also met on the riverside in southern Berlin, the east of anti-fascist Germany. The 2 western fronts are now connected. Under the east-west attack of the Soviet and American-British Allied forces, Hitler gathered 1 million troops, built 3 lines of defense east of Berlin. 3 layers of defense were built around the city of Berlin. April 26, 1945, the Soviets began a fierce attack on Berlin. It's a 1-by-1 battle in the inner city. The German Reichstag was finally captured on April 30. 3 p.m. on the same day, Hitler and his wife Abba Braun. In the underground refuge room of the Imperial Chancellery, suicide, May 7, 1945. Germany signs unconditional surrender. The European anti-fascist war has ended successfully. May 8, 1945. In the Pacific battlefield, the Americans launched a more aggressive offensive, continuously approaching the Japanese mainland. At the same time, anti-Japanese armed forces in China and other countries. It also launched counter-offensives across Asia. July 16, 1945. American success. Exploded the world's first atomic bomb. The Mongolian side understands the consequences of this powerful weapon and the responsibilities that users should assume. But the Japanese carried out the Manila Massacre in the Philippines, manufacturing the Nanjing Massacre in China, attack on Pearl Harbor, etc. has reached the point where it has angered the kingdom. The Blind Army believes that the number of Japanese militarism, rationality does not cost him dearly, does not pose a lethal threat to it. Japan will never put down its butcher knives. The price paid by people across Asia, it is bound to be more severe. July 26, 1945. China, the United States and the United Kingdom issue the Boston Announcement. August demands 14, that Japan surrender unconditionally. Otherwise, it will be the final blow. August 6, 1945. On the 9th, the United States has thrown the codename Little Boy and the Fat Man's atomic bomb, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. Destructive bombing. The 2 bombings killed more than 200,000 people. Tens of thousands of buildings were destroyed. August 8, 1945. The Soviet Union announced to Japan under the Yalta Agreement, sending 1.50 million troops to attack Japan in northeast China. Battle of the Kwantung Army. The Soviets 32,000 casualties, destroy 670,000 Japanese. At the same time, China's anti-Japanese armed forces also attacked the Japanese army, launched an all-out attack. Japan announced its acceptance of the Poston Proclamation. On August 15, Emperor Yuan of Japan made a radio broadcast, issued the Chinese War Edict, declare unconditional surrender. September 2, 1945, Japanese government representative, on the deck of the USS Missouri, signed an unconditional surrender. So far World War II. The failure of the fascist Axis and the victory of the fascist Allies ended.